Hello and welcome to our F1 23 Hungary Setup Guide. The Hungarian Grand Prix is held at the aptly named Hungaroring, which is a 4.3 kilometer tight and twisty circuit. Many of the drivers liken it to a kart track. It has 14 slow and medium corners, with 6 to the left and 8 to the right. You'll need lots of focus to get into the rhythm for this circuit, as the corners will come at you thick and fast. Hungary is just like Monaco but without the walls, and just like Monaco, overtaking is very difficult, so qualifying is extra important at this circuit. So jumping straight into the setup, the first area we're going to look at is aerodynamics. Here we're going pretty much all out with the downforce, with a front aero of 50 and a rear aero of 46. This balance might feel slow on the straights, but the extra speed you're going to make up in the corners will definitely be worthwhile. This is a significantly higher amount of downforce than you'll be used to driving with, so be careful not to slow down too much in the corners. The car can go faster than you think. As the majority of this circuit is made up of slow and medium speed corners, you want to keep those mid-corner speeds as high as possible. Don't forget to use the full width of the circuit and optimise your racing line. Once you've set up the aero, we're now going to have a look at the transmission. Here we've went with an on-throttle differential of 56% and an off-throttle differential of 51%. Keep in mind that transmission affects your car's rotation and stability, so you may want to adjust these depending on your driving style and track condition. However, I recommend keeping both values as low as possible to aid the car in rotation in the tight corners. One thing that I will say is this makes the car very easy to spin out, so be sure to stay off the grass and stay off the white painted curbs. The red and white ones are okay, but anything painted just white will be very slippery and you'll quickly find yourself in the wall. In our setup, the off-throttle differential is lower than the on-throttle differential, so if you are struggling to get the car rotated in a corner, be sure to lift completely off the gas. Once you know you're going to make the exit, then ease onto the power and blast your way out of the corner. Alternatively, if you are experiencing the opposite problem and the car is spinning out, we find this to be an issue particularly with high levels of tyre wear, then try not to lift off the throttle mid-corner. Either lift off the throttle before you start turning, or maintain a small amount of throttle throughout the corner for extra stability. Just bear in mind that every time you come off the gas completely, the differential is going to shift from 56% to 51%, giving you an extra bit of rotation. So if you're at the limit of grip mid-corner, just consider that this may cause the car to spin out. Once we've set up the transmission, we're going to move on to suspension geometry. This area will look familiar to anyone that's played the last few F1 games, as the settings have generally been the same. Here we're going all the way to the right in the top two settings and all the way to the left on the bottom two. This means a front camber of minus 2.50 degrees and a rear camber of minus 1.00 degrees. Also set the front toe at 0.00 degrees and the rear toe at 0.10 degrees. Suspension geometry plays a significant role in grip stability and tyre wear, so although you can make changes to this setup, this is one area that I'd recommend you leave as it is. Moving on from the suspension geometry, we're next going to have a look at the suspension. This area is an area that we always say is more personal, and we see the biggest amount of variance between individual setups. Here we've gone with a softer than typical suspension, mainly due to the lower average corner speed and the large curbs in the chicane. To begin, we recommend a front suspension of 18 and a rear suspension value of 10. This will definitely help you where you need it over the curbs. Following this, we're going to have a look at anti-roll bars. Here again we've gone rather soft. The front anti-roll bar should be at 7 and the rear anti-roll bar at 1. Ride height should be set with 36 at the front and 37 at the rear. Ride height is dependent on a few factors, including the height of the curbs at the circuit you are racing on. It can also be impacted by the amount of aero that you have set on the car. If you have a high amount of aero and the main straight is long, then the rear of the car will bottom out under high load. If you find yourself spinning out when you cut over a red and white striped curb, then you may want to increase this value. However, we do not recommend setting the ride height to anything higher than 40, as you will see a significant loss in lap time. Once we've set up the suspension, then we're going to have a look at the brakes. Brakes are pretty straightforward in F1 23, and we're almost always going to set our brake pressure to 100%. Hungary is no different. If you are locking the brakes, the car is sliding and you're seeing that white smoke from your tyres, then you may want to set this value slightly lower. However, only adjust this if you have ABS turned off, and even if you do, you may find 100% to be perfectly fine. We've set the front brake bias to 53%. We found this to be optimal in terms of slowing the car down and maintaining balance under braking. However, if you are spinning out under braking and you're losing control of the rear of the car, then you might want to try increasing this value. We recommend pushing it as high as 58%, although much higher, and again you will see a loss in lap time. Finally, once you've set up the brakes, then it's time to set the tyres. Here we're going to go on the front, right and left of 22.7 psi. At the rear, we're going left and right at a 20.3 psi. This is a very high tyre pressure and you may see an increase in tyre wear if the temperature is high. Typically, races at Hungary have a lower than average track temperature, so that counteracts the extra pressure that we've put into the tyres. If you are struggling with tyre wear, then decrease these values by 2 to 3 clicks on each wheel. It's also crucial to understand how your driving style impacts tyre wear. If you are running out of tyre life too early in the stint, that will negate any extra pace the additional pressure gives you, so practice sessions really are your best friend here. And that's it, we're at the end of the setup. You're now equipped with a robust guide to tackle the Hungaroring circuit. And remember, while setups are important, they're only half the battle. Your skill behind the wheel will make the real difference. As Hungary is so different from most other circuits, we really recommend putting some extra time in on time trial. If this guide works for you, or if it didn't work for you, or even if you'd like your own custom setup, just leave a comment below. So from everyone at f1setups.com, I'd like to say thank you for watching this video, and remember, keep it clean into turn 1.